welcome to Manager Monday. And today I am happy to present that we have Ms. Sandra Cortez. She is working with Laredo College. She's been there for 11 years. She's in the continuing education department. And for 6 of the last years, she's been the director of AEL and continuing education. She holds a bachelor's degree in business administration and is a certified manager in program improvement. For those of you who are currently pursuing the LEA sessions, that's the credential that you receive at the end. It's the CMPI. And she has been in a leadership position for 25 years, and she states that she adapts easily to change and loves what she does. And it is very notable in the opportunity I've had recently to work with Ms. Sandra. So I'm very excited that you have joined us today, Sandra.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for that introduction, Liz.
You're very welcome.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. As Liz mentioned, my name is Sandra Cortez, and I am the Dean of Community Education at Laredo College. I have 3 departments under my supervision, adult education being one of the larger ones, continuing ed, and I'm currently starting a credit program in cosmetology for the college, and that should be kicking off in the fall, so we're really excited about that. But again, thank you for joining us this afternoon, and I hope that the information that I'm going to share with you is of benefit. Here in Laredo, we serve a large population of English language learners, and a couple of years ago when WIOA indicated that small business management entrepreneurship was an approved pathway, we looked at this program with Texas A&M International Small Business Development Center. Okay, so we thought, what can we offer these students that are in our EL Civics programs, ESL EL Civics programs, and may not be authorized to work in the United States. So we thought, well, let's communicate with the Small Business Development Center at TAMIU and let's see what they have to offer. Because we knew that anything that they learned there from other experiences that I've had with them, they could apply their skills to opening a business, or even to, if some of them had businesses, applying their skills to become self-sufficient. We also offer these individuals the civics, obviously education, so that they can become U.S. citizens. And we have had quite success with many of these students. But we knew that this would be a great opportunity for these participants. And along with the EL Civics and the ESL, their instruction is also contextualized. So just a snapshot of the type of students that we serve. Every year, on the average, we serve about 1,500 students. This past year, or the year that just closed, we served 1,515 of them, 946 students being ESL students. As you all know, we are on the border, so we have a large population when it comes to ESL, many of which are employed and others that are not. EL Civics students, for regular, what we refer to as regular EL Civics students, just those students that are looking to perhaps become residents, we served 150 out of those 946. And then our integrated education and training EL Civics, this year we served 44 individuals. So we decided to form a partnership with Texas A&M International University. This university is an extension, obviously, from Texas A&M, and the Small Business Development Center is one of the offices that they house there. So when we approached the SBDC, when we found that we could have this small business entrepreneurship certification as a career pathway, we negotiated a registration price. They open to the community. Their enrollment is $200 per person for this program. They give us a special price, a little bit lower than what is open to the community. So they became a third-party provider for us. Like we also have other third parties that do different trainings for us. They became just like that. What we do is that we create a continuing education course at our college that is aligned with the information from the entrepreneurship class. So we do have a course where our students from adult ed register with Laredo College Continuing Ed, so that at the end of the program, they also receive CEUs, and this information gets transcribed permanently in their college information. The program structure that we decided on was the main one being the Workforce Skills Program. We compiled all of the different subjects that they teach, and we'll see that in later slides, and we came up with 29 hours. Those are the hours that are specific to the management certification program. And then, of course, we have the workforce preparation class, our contextualized EL Civic, and our CE Workforce Skills instructor and AEL instructor meet weekly. We need to make sure that they're aligned in what they are instructing the students so that anything that they learn in the Skills for Small Business, they're also able to teach the EL Civics class. The CE Workforce Skills instructor attends the small business classes along with the students. That is, the CE instructor that's assigned to the student goes along to every single class that the students are assigned to. Sometimes the CE instructor is also the AEL instructor. So that works out really, really well for us because they're getting the information firsthand when they're sitting in the skills class, and then when they come back to do the contextualization, it aligns perfectly. And here on this slide, you'll see a sample of the program schedule that Texas A&M International University has open for the public. And as you notice, for each of the courses that they offer, there's a different session that anybody could register for. It could be during the day, it could be during the evening, on the varying dates. And it consists of the various topics such as starting a business, creating a business plan, cash management, bookkeeping, credit and budgeting, working with banks. The most important items that an individual that is opening a small business or has a small business or can use these skills in their employment or if they're already employed becomes very important. Aside from registering in the continuing ed side, we also register the students in every class that is being selected for them to attend. A schedule is created, and then they're expected to attend during the time assigned. And these participants are co-enrolled with other business owners from throughout the community. So the course is not just specifically for them, but there could be, we could send perhaps a cohort of 25, but enrolled along with them could be another 10, 15, 20 students. I'll show you some photographs so you could see the cohorts that we've had. Additional benefits that these individuals that take these classes have is that aside from the face-to-face program, they also take they have to assist on 2 online topics that they select from. I didn't want to list them all because there's very many, but they're really, really, really awesome because I went into the website just to see, which classes they have, and they're really, really good classes. They also get to attend a goal planning session. And at this goal planning session, they sit face-to-face with a certified advisor, which if the case being that they are starting a business or they do have a small business, they walk them through everything that they need additionally. And these benefits are of no cost to them. It's included with the registration price that they pay at the beginning. And then they also attend a midterm review session. And let's say if they did start a business or they have a business, they could remain being their client for as long as the small business owner needs to. And all of this is received at no charge to the students. This is a sample of a schedule that's prepared by the coordinators. As you recall on the slide where they have all of the open enrollment courses available to the community, what the coordinators do is that they select the specific class that these participants will be attending. In other words, the participant doesn't have a choice, oh, I'm going to this one and the other one is going to a different one. No, everybody has to attend together as a group with the instructor. Now, if there is the case where they have to make up a class because they were absent, they were late, or they had something come up, whatever the case may be, we do allow them to make up a class in one of the other sessions. But primarily, they all do this training as a cohort. And you'll see on this schedule, it indicates the workforce prep, and they're color-coded, the ESL class, and then each of the times and dates that they will attend at the university. A couple of more questions for discussions. Are you all familiar with the small business development centers in your area? And if you are, do they have a small business management certificate program?
How long did this process take just to establish the relationship with your small business development center?
Actually, not long. You know, when we met with the small business development center director, as soon as he knew the benefit of, you know, and the type of student that we were serving, they also thought this is an excellent idea. And we've been doing this for going on 3 years now. We really didn't have, you know, we had a couple of meetings as to how we were going to handle it, just the logistics part on their end because of the registration process and how their payment is collected. Since these students were going to be sponsored pretty much by us, there was a different process that they had to set in place. But other than that, it was really, really easy and smooth to do so.
Well, that's encouraging to hear.
Many areas have these programs. You know, not all of them are like at a university or at a college. Some may be standalone, but typically they are connected and aligned with some other entity, and through them is how they promote their programs. But I'm not sure if all of the programs have this same certification program, but it's really good to find out if they do. So how do we recruit? What students do we select for this, and who does, and who puts in all of the work? Well, primarily the recruitment of this and the selection is done by our career navigator. Once an instructional coordinator, our ESL classes start, they identify the classes where these participants can be recruited from. We usually recruit from the higher level ESL classes, being that these programs or these courses taught are all in English. So the participant has to be, you know, somewhat fluent, understand the language, and be able to interact, because there's a lot of interaction within these classes. And of course, we give a preference to those that are not authorized to work. Career Navigator interviews, once they select the classes, then they start promoting it within the classes. They interview and explain the program details. Retention is very crucial. So when the coordinator works closely with instructors on a daily basis to monitor attendance, so does the career navigator. The other coordinator that becomes involved is on the continuing ed side. The workforce and career services coordinator also assists with retention. What they both do on the first day, once the participants have been selected, they've been given their schedule, they've been registered with continuing ed, they're registered through the Small Business Center. Then on the first day, they meet 1 hour before the class starts, or half an hour, and the career navigator and the workforce coordinator along with the instructor, and we always try to use the same instructors so that it becomes a little bit more they become more familiarized with the process, and it's easier for our participants. So they meet them at the university. You know, they decide on a location, meet them, and then they walk them around and show them where everything is at. You know, if they have the student center where they're going to take their courses, where the bathrooms are, so that they'll feel comfortable. Remember, we're taking a student that perhaps first of all, had never stepped foot at a community college, and now we're sending them to a university, because our university is really beautiful. So it could be a bit intimidating. So that is the purpose of that first day, so that they'll feel comfortable, they'll be at ease, and they'll know that they have that support system at the college in case they need anything from us. And as I mentioned earlier, the skills instructor attends every SBDC class, and they love it because they also truly learn a lot. And the participants communicate with the career navigator and coordinator to report absences or tardiness. The group that you see here in this photograph, we have the career navigator, of course, I'm in there, And then we also have the SBDC skills instructor, and the AEL instructors are also photographed. So this becomes their support system. Possible obstacles, as we will know, our students, many of them do have obstacles. So the main one being transportation, since they don't, during this period of time, the only time they report to the college campus is when they're doing their contextualized EL civics. For the skills part, they report directly to the university. So many times transportation can be a challenge, but all of these points are discussed with them prior to being selected. But what happens then, once we create the cohort, they build community and they begin to carpool. They start knowing one another, or some of them already know each other, so they help each other out. And we really haven't had a problem with this, because from the onset they're advised of all of this. Child care, many of them have child care issues, but we try to schedule the courses usually when the kids are in school. That's very, very important as well. The language, as I stated, we try and select those individuals that are at a higher level, and the instructor reinforces the language that is used in class, because they actually fit in the class, as I've mentioned. So that's very easy for them. Sometimes they don't have a support system. They don't have a support system at home or in their personal life, so we become that support system. The Laredo College and the SBDC team becomes the support system. And as I stated earlier, we have the career navigator, the AEL instructional coordinator, the CE coordinator, the instructor, the SBDC advisors, and the SBDC training coordinator. Everybody really, really works very, 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 very well together.
When you were talking about the language for ESL and skills instructors, that they might be the same, and that you identify the ESL students, is there a score that you base yourself off of?
So when the students are placed, they are placed based on their choice of academy, but also on the score that they scored on the Best Plus and the Best Plus literacy. Many of our classes are multi-level, but the higher ones, we try and keep them separate because we want them to transition to ABE classes. So they're selected from those higher level classes.
That's a very good point. And so do you also have like an interview for them apart from the score?
Oh, yes. Once they select the score, let's say we have a class of 30 students, okay? And then they start ranking them. That's part of the process for every class that we start, a regular ESL class. They start ranking them, and then they start looking to see who is not authorized to work in the United States. And from there is when they start selecting them. Then they start bringing them in one by one and talking with them and telling them, there's this opportunity. You're in the business academy, and there's this opportunity, or you have transportation, do you have child care, all of these questions come about.
Interesting. Well, thank you so much.
So some more questions for discussion. So in your areas, who tracks attendance in your program, and who assists your participants with obstacles that may hinder attendance and learning?
Is there an example of how your program helped a participant with identify or overcome some of these obstacles?
I know that with transportation, what the Career Navigator does is that once the cohort has been created and they start in the workforce prep class, that's the first thing that they do. That's pretty much the class that they look to see if we're going to have that attendance, if they're not going to be tardy. We kind of identify during those 12 hours who's going to have, that challenge making it to class on time, and that's how they start talking with them. So what happens then, once they have that group together, they bring them together based on the transportation, and they start talking, we ask them these questions all together, and they start talking to one another. Oh, well, I can give you a ride, or if you meet me here, I can pick you up, or I can drop you off. So I think that's pretty much the primary problem that we've seen, that it has been transportation in this case. being that, Laredo's not this huge city, but the university is still a little bit out of the way, not very close to where the community college is at. But that's the only example that I can think of right now. I'm sure if I asked my career navigator, she could give me a whole bunch of them, but that's the only one that I can think of right now.
Well, but that's a very good example. I think we once you mention an example, then we all have an idea of, oh, okay.
Yes, not only for this program, I'm sure we all, as grantees, we have to track attendance for all our classes, because of the challenges that we know that our participants may have at times. So a little bit of data, since we started our program in 2016-17, we started off with 24 participants, and they all completed. The second year, we had 31, and 29 of those completed. And then this year, we had 31 participants, and 30 of them completed. That group that you see in that photograph, all of those are from Laredo College. This cohort, what we did, we opened it up not just to EL Civics students. We had a demand of students coming to us from our high school equivalency program and our regular ESL. So we opened it up to all of them. I want to say that we had close to 60 participants for this cohort, but specifically for EL Civics IET, they were 31 students. So it was a huge group. When they did the certification ceremony, because the Small Business Development Center really goes all out and does this really wonderful ceremony for not just our participants, but for those that are enrolled from the community. They have speakers come in. They serve a lunch. They can bring their family and friends. So it's really, really a cool thing that they do for their participants. But we've been very, very lucky that those that are selected do stay to completion. These are some other photographs. What we do, aside from the completion ceremony that Tammy USBDC does, we also do one for them on campus, because we like for our leadership to know what's going on as well, and they get to attend the completion ceremonies that we have on campus. So thinking back to this year and the couple of years in the past, we've been very, very lucky that our program attendance meets our expectations. Once we have a group of instructors and they're available, we use them over and over for the same program. There isn't anything better, when we do introductions. Sometimes when we have our new instructor orientation and everybody gets to introduce themselves, it's a good feeling when you get some instructors that they say their name and then they say, I teach pharmacy tech math, or I teach small business ESL. They identify themselves with the specific skills that they're contextualizing to. So that's really neat for us. It also works really well that the SBDC offers 2 sessions throughout the year. They have a spring session or a summer session, and then they have the fall session. For instance, this fall session will be starting in October, and we'll be sending our first cohort of students. We also have student participants that have started their own business or have learned how to better manage if they already had an existing business. We have had some individuals that have gotten promoted from our high school equivalency group that we did. We had a couple that just because they got that certificate, they were promoted to higher responsibilities.
Are there any EL Civics students that pursue GED classes, which you kind of touched upon right now?
Yes. When the student is in an EL Civics class, it doesn't mean that all of them are not authorized to work in the States, but there's also individuals in our EL Civics class that are residents and that do aspire to become residents of the United States, and they do. We also serve a population of professionals, primarily those that have gone to become citizens have been from that group. But many of our students, individuals or participants that do transition into high school equivalency. And I think one of the benefits and that we reflect on when we have students or when the advisors let us know, hey, your students that from cohort 1 I'm still helping some out. We're working on training them on QuickBooks, on accounting, on managing their finances better, so they continue getting that service from them. We do offer other programs to our EL Civics IET students. We've done the Export Specialist program, and that one is they're online modules and face-to-face. We've had accounting clerk assistance. This primarily was offered to those that had an accounting background. And we did have 9 professionals sit through an accounting clerk assistant, and their CEUs were articulated to 8 semester credit hours. And we just finished our first group of bookkeeping certification. This was the first time that we offered a bookkeeping certification program, and specifically for evening EL Civics IET students. And they received, not only do they get their CEUs, but they sit for an actual certification test, and it was an 84-hour program, and it's an industry-recognized program. And I also wanted to share the other IET tracks that we have, because as we all know, we don't only serve EL Civics students, but for the general population that are interested in seeking a career pathway, we offer, again, like the bookkeeping certification that I just mentioned, commercial driver's license. I think so far we've had we're getting close to 16 students that received a commercial driver's license. And we know that those programs are kind of expensive. They're kind of pricey. So what we do is that we leverage other local scholarship funding that the college has available for some workforce programs. So that one's worked out really well for us. Dental assistant, we've had many dental assistant IETs for our general population. We primarily have 100% passage rate. We recently worked with a credit workforce program, the Emergency Medical Services, 8 students that should be testing here soon for their certification. Again, the small business management entrepreneurship and medical administrative support. We're always looking for new programs, that are in demand in our community, because one of our main goals is for our students to become employed or transition into post-secondary ed. The whole IET program is comprised of the workforce prep, the AEL class, and then the skills class. So it just varies. For instance, our bookkeeping certification, just the actual skills course is 84 hours. The commercial driver's license is 175 hours. The dental assistant is, I think, 100 hours. The EMS was 16 weeks because that was a credit program. The small business is at 29 hours. And the medical administrative, since that was for articulation, we had to follow what the credit requirement was. So it was, I think, about 144 hours. So it just depends. Our programs are never more than, I want to say, 10 to 12 weeks. So they're pretty intense.
Sandra, I think this has been invaluable information. You've shared a lot from how to start and how to manage it to how to make it better. It's been really impressive to learn about the strategies that you used. By any chance, do you know the types of businesses that some of these students started?
Some have started restaurant businesses. They claim that it's the easiest thing to do, but I think it's just so hard running a restaurant. But, small restaurants maybe where they also deliver plates to different entities. We've had a couple that have gone to offer these trucks now that, go to different places throughout the city and offer services. So we've had some of those do that. We had one gentleman get a promotion. He worked for a real estate company, and he got promoted within there. The college does have a culinary arts program, but what they've learned through it is how to manage their restaurant businesses. The other thing I wanted to mention, Liz, is that, for instance, if they approach an SBDC office that might want to know how this is set up, I'm sure that the director from the Laredo SBDC would be glad to share his insight, on how they manage it internally with other SBDC offices.
That would be great. As a matter of fact, and do you know this? I know that in some areas they offer this certification in Spanish. Do you know if that's the same in Laredo?
They do not have it in Spanish, no.
Interesting.
You know, if anybody would like to email me, I would love to help out and refer you to our career navigator or our workforce coordinator, whomever can best answer any questions. It's sandra.cortez@laredo.edu.
Will that ever change concerning offering programs in Spanish?
You know what? We've never discussed it with them, but it's not a bad question. Maybe they would be able to provide that. I would just have to work with them. We do not offer any classes in Spanish, not even GED Spanish in our program. Yeah, I mean, I can ask that question. That wouldn't be a bad thing.
And then just out of my own curiosity, how long is the process from the screening point to the start of class?
I would say a couple of weeks.
Okay.
You know, it's terrible, but things like that do happen. We've had cases where individuals that have taken their Spanish GED, and in the past, I want to say that it would show on their certificate that they took their GED in Spanish, and they've had trouble getting jobs like that. We do have a few students coming back to take it in English now for the same reason. But yeah, that's not a good thing, but it does happen.
That's unfortunate. And how long have you been doing this program? You said this is your third year already?
Yes, we just completed our third year of working with the Small Business Development Center. And in fact, earlier today, I got a call wanting to know how many we were going to send for the October cohort. And we'll be sending 25 students.
Oh, my goodness. And you also mentioned that you do this during the daytime. Have you ever considered doing something in the evening or on the weekends?
They have evening classes also.
Oh,
yes,
okay.
they offer evening classes. I think we've done an evening cohort as well.
Yes, it sounds like a very successful program. Congratulations to you. Thank you so much, Sandra, for choosing to participate with us today and sharing what your program does. It's exciting to see, a new venture and new opportunities for our students. So thank you so much for doing this today. I'd also like to thank Dr. Olga Escamilla for guiding me, and I've been your host, Liz Moya, for Train PD.